Why would a loving God allow you to experience such an excruciating rejection, a purging from narcissistic abuse? Such a painful experience. Where was God? This is for those of you who believe in God. But even if you don't believe in God, that's okay, because it's the same as hitting rock bottom. Why did you need to hit rock bottom, be purged, be expelled, be rejected from the relationship in order to start over? I believe the question here has less to do with the attributes of a loving God and more to do with understanding our own stubbornness, the stubbornness that's just inherent in humanity. Let's talk about this. My name is Kevin, and this is The Royal We. Before I continue, I want to let you know that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. In addition to that, I have a brand new life coaching program where I teach every day, Monday through Friday, live with questions and answers. This coaching program is not some pre-recorded material. I am taking my time and spending it with you each and every day. And together, we are doing some deep healing coming out of narcissistic abuse. I encourage you to get signed up, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Now, we are talking about this idea and this thought of where is God when we are entering into this excruciatingly painful experience with a narcissistic person, whether it's a family member, sibling, a lover, a job, or a group of friends. And it gets to the point to where we literally feel purged from the relationship, expelled out of the area. We have no choice but to start over. And even if you are not a person of faith, it's the equivalent of hitting rock bottom in life to where you have no other choices but to peel your broken self up off the ground, look at how far you've tumbled, and start over. Now, the mistake that we make is to think that this loving God in a situation, for those of you who believe in God, has allowed this to happen to you. But the reality is that it has less to do with the loving attributes of God and more to do with stubbornness. And by the way, as a disclaimer, this message is intended for adults. My channel and my content here is aimed at adults who are dealing with narcissists and wrestling with narcissistic abuse in the world. I'm not here talking to children who have no choices, because you as an adult have choices. You don't have to tumble all the way down the side of a mountain. You can grab onto that olive branch before you hit rock bottom. We all can. But now that we've hit rock bottom, we can reflect back and look at it. Understanding our stubbornness in life, which oftentimes results in us staying involved with narcissistically abusive people for far too long, even though everything inside of us knows that it's a bad relationship to be in. And again, it doesn't matter if it's family or if it's siblings. We find excuses. We find one shred of a reason to stay involved in that relationship. If it's a family, well, it's family. I don't have any other family. Wrong. There's lots of opportunity to have family out in this world. Well, I've already given so much into the relationship, so I need to figure out how to make it work. Wrong. When everything inside of you is screaming to get out. The insides are screaming, but your outside is justifying reasons to stay in it. This is not an uncommon thing, and it's not the first, and you're not the first, and I'm not the first, right? This is something that has plagued humanity, the stubbornness, if you will, since the beginning of time. I'm going to share with you an ancient story out of the Bible, if you don't mind. It's a popular story. It's the story of Moses. How many of you know the story of Moses? Now, the misconception is that in the story of Moses, Moses showed up in Egypt to rescue a bunch of oppressed and enslaved people, saying, "Follow me. I know that you're all abused and enslaved. Now let's go. I'm here." And the people all shouted, "Hurrah! Moses is our savior. Let's go." And they all left. That's not how the story goes at all. The reality of the story is this: the oppressed, the abused, the enslaved who were stuck in a narcissistic society that Egypt was at that time. Those people didn't want to go. Many of them didn't. Moses, his biggest challenge wasn't the Pharaoh. The biggest challenge of Moses' mission was dealing with a grumbling group of people who stubbornly were finding reasons and excuses to stay in an abusive environment within Egypt. Here was the deal. God said, Moses, here's what's going to happen. I have heard the spiritual cries of my people. I have heard their inner cries, but their outer cries have not caught up yet. But their inner cries I can hear. But they're not going to want to go because they're stubborn and they're going to find any excuse to stay. But we have money here. We have an economy here. We have a house here. We have food here. It's worth it to stay in the abuse with all these things. We'll justify it. That's the stubbornness of humanity. So here's what the Lord said. The Pharaoh of Egypt is going to become crueler. A lot of people think that it's God who made the Pharaoh crueler. Wrong. All it says is that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Basically, the image of this is that God withdrew his presence and Pharaoh became he encompassed all that he already was. Pharaoh was a bad dude from the get-go, right? So by God withdrawing himself from Pharaoh, Pharaoh was left to his own devices. And what happened? He became crueler. He became meaner. He turned up the heat. He turned up the abuse. He told all of the guards, he said, whip those people harder, enslave them more, take away their food, make it more difficult. Punish them. And that's what narcissists do. That's what narcissistic people do to you. That's what the narcissist wanted to do to me. Oh, they think they're going to go somewhere? Turn up the heat, make it more abusive. Oftentimes, that's enough right there to cause people to find excuses to stay in some strange way when we should be running. People should be running. The abuse is getting hotter. We're out of here. But still, a lot of times people will find excuses to stay. So Moses led the people out, not because they were excited to run. Many of them were standing around with their finger in their noses until the abuse got so bad that they had no choice. They were expelled. They were purged. And it's the same with you and with me. Narcissistic abuse of any kind is the result of being with people you have no business being with. Let's all say this together. By now you know it. It's the Royal We motto. Being with people you have no business being with, doing things you have no business doing, going places you have no business going. And if we're not careful, we can find a shred of some kind of comfort. And then we can start to justify, even though our insides are screaming, get out of this place. Stop hanging around these people. Don't talk to that person again in that manner. Yet we'll stubbornly justify it. When we start to externally go against what our insides are telling us to do, whoa, buckle up. Because this is a one-way trip to a downwards spiral. And oftentimes, this is what happens when you start to tumble down the hill to hit rock bottom. Olive branches are being extended your way. Grab on, here's some help, get out. No, I got this, I'm good. Tumble some more. God, where are you? And there's people. Here's an olive branch. Come on, get out. No. But I got this. It's good. I've got a place to live. I've got food. I can change this. I can change the situation. I can make it better. And tumble, and tumble all the way. And then boom, smack down. And that's what rock bottom is, by the way. You smack down on the ground. You have nowhere left to go. The heat's been turned up. Because you're not in a place where you belong. You haven't been honest with yourself. You haven't been honest with the people around you. It's our own stubbornness. So one of the issues that we really have to wrestle with is not being mad at God. Where was God? God, if you believe in God, was that internal voice saying, this is all wrong. Right? That's where God was. Right? We need to stop blaming God. We need to instead understand our ability to become stubborn I've got this. We can make this work. I can find some reason to stay. I can find a bit of comfort. I can find a reason. Or stubbornness. In an extreme case, stubbornness can be costly. It can cost people their lives because they're too stubborn to stay out of where they don't belong. To not heed the warnings. And I'm not just talking about the warnings of other people. I'm talking about the internal warnings. Listen, if all of us paid more attention to our own discernment and the own voice within our own spidey senses when you're in a place, when you're around people, and the hairs on the back of your neck rise up, when you start to get into a conversation and you feel something inside of you twist, we just start paying attention to that. We'll cut the majority of our tumbling experiences in this life in half. Just with that. More than in half. So oftentimes, what typically happens in these abusive relationships all the times, if you are in an abusive relationship and it gets to the point where you've been purged, expelled, and that pain is so great, it's so excruciating, know that it's typically the result of a certain amount of stubbornness that kept you looking for a reason, for justification, for some shred of comfort to hang on to, instead of doing what inside you knew you should have done. Right? This is where we, again, get into the territory of honesty. Not being honest with ourselves and with other people. But now is the time to start to become honest with ourselves, with others, with our values, our morals, our faith, with who we are, with what we will accept, what we won't accept. And it's going to be difficult. I'm not here telling you that it's going to be easy. We've got a big challenge. I mean, right now, listen, we are at war. Are we not? And the war that we are at right now, typically, or what it seems to be, is against independence. It's against you listening to what your insides are telling you. That's too independent. So it's not going to be easy standing outside of what people are saying you should do and outside of this and listening to your insides, listening to your faith, listening to what you believe, listening to the morals and the values that have been instilled in you, not even necessarily from people you know, but from a different place, from a higher source. It's going to be difficult to listen to it because it might go against what everything else is saying, what everybody else horizontally is trying to tell you, what your system around you is trying to say. It's not going to be easy, and you may find, you may discover that you're trying to justify reasons for this, you're trying to allow reasons for that. You're going to hit rock bottom again. So let's stop that. Like I said before, I'm here to support you through this. Down in the description box, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. In addition to that, brand new life coaching program. It's $49 for the entire month for deep healing. Every day we're healing from narcissistic abuse. We're moving forward with our life. Amen? So get down there and get registered. And I encourage you to watch this video right here. This video is about being honest, right? Honesty is going to be the answer to eliminate narcissistic abuse from our lives. Let's all get more honest. Watch this video right here. It's all about honesty. And I will be back with more videos for you right here on The Royal We.